Yo, what up? All right, bet. So, I just finished watching Frequency, Repetition, Consistency. I watched a few videos actually off of different people. Okay. Frequency, Repetition, Consistency by King Manta or Musa. I guess that's how it's pronounced. He was talking about neurolinguistic programming, which is a common technique, oftentimes used by hypnotherapists and also law enforcement. Many law enforcement officers are well trained in NLP to get people to cooperate. You know, they got to handle or deal with some pretty rowdy shit sometimes, right? They have things in neurolinguistic programming. I'm really hazy on it. I barely got into it because at the time I came across it, I think I was in college, or no, I wasn't in college. I was in high school, at the end of high school maybe. I read a little bit about neurolinguistic programming. Certain things that people do. For instance, kinesthetic touches. Kinesthetic is learning by touch. And the only thing I remember from neurolinguistic programming from what I read way back, old man, is the anchor technique. And the anchor technique is basically when you say something with intention. When you say something with intention, if it's somebody that, you know what I'm saying, that you're close with, right? Giving a touch on the shoulder or on the knee, okay? Let's say in a comforting situation, right? So let's say somebody is going through it or whatever. Giving a firm touch on the knee is called an anchor. When you say something comforting, right after that, you would, touch the knee as a sign of comfort. And it enhances, what you just said, allegedly. All right? It gets anchored into the brain, so to speak, right? It can help to subdue the discomfort a lot quicker if you do things that way. Now, that's just one technique in neurolinguistic programming. In an instance with law enforcement and what have you, neurolinguistic programming is interesting because I could tell you that one time I worked at a restaurant called P.F. Chang's. I'm not sure if it's there on the Eastern Seaboard. A lot of you brothers on the East Coast. And I had a manager, and his name was Mike. And the dude was crazy, okay? I was crazy too during that time. I'm not gonna lie. We were both crazy. My manager was crazy, and I was crazy. That was my partying days. I was wilding out back then, right? And I don't know, me and Mike was always bumping heads because if he told me to do something I didn't want to do it, I just wouldn't do it. I'd be like, nah, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to do it, right? So you'd be like, well, if you don't do it, then, you know what I'm saying, you don't have a job. Then I'll be like, all right, cool. And then I'll bounce and then I'll go hit up a club with my homies and shit. Me and Mike, sometimes he was right, sometimes I was right. But I remember one time, because he rehired me like 6 times. I got fired 5 times from P.F. Chang's. All right, the same store, the same manager. Hilarious, right? But one time we got into a pretty bad argument, and then Mike was like, "Meet me out back." I was like, "Bet, right? Bet, nigga." Like. So I go out back. I'm like, well, you know what I'm saying? I'm already just like, yo, what's up? You know what I'm saying? And he could tell that I don't know what was going on, what we were arguing about, but dude, I was pissed, dude. I was pissed the fuck off, dude. Like I was about to hammer that dude's head into the side of that building, right? And what Mike did, he kept lighthearted. And he walked up and he placed his hand on my shoulder and placed his hand on top of my shoulder. And believe it or not, you guys, my temper, it fizzled out like that. It fizzled out like that, and I was listening. I found myself listening. These were my hazy days. I was, you know what I'm saying? I was a crazy college kid, partying, being irresponsible. And so my psychology, my development as an individual hadn't really came there yet. Now that shit won't work on me now because I'm with it, man. I'm sharp. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even like motherfuckers getting too close to me. Like I'm real weird like that, right? About my space. Cause I can feel people's energy and shit now. And some people have some real nasty energy nowadays. I kid you not. If you a target, or some of you claim that you're empaths, and you'll know what I'm talking about. All right. But anyway, he came up, he put his hand on my shoulder, and it completely distracted me because it forced me to focus on what he was saying, right? And he totally de-escalated the situation, right? Because honestly, I was about to hit that nigga in the sternum till his shoulders touched. Like, I was pissed, bro. I was pissed that day. That was an NLP technique, okay? That's what I learned. Okay, the reason why I stopped reading about neuro-linguistic programming to begin with is because, I don't know, I didn't really find it useful. I had some homeboys get into during that time after graduation of high school, get into, like, at that time, the PUA community was really big. That was blowing up. They just started. And I think it originated in Arizona, and it was the pickup artist. If you're going to be a pickup artist, so if you're always going out hollering at girls or whatever, these dudes were supposed to be like the cool dudes that knew how to do it and broke it down into some type of science, which was basically a run through of a bunch of watery text, okay? And the type of gimmicky stuff that they said that you needed to do, like a lot of them will dress really weird and wear like top hats and have like that fur thing that like burlesque dancers used to wear back in the day and put it around them. And they would use it as props or anchoring techniques to have flair to distract women so that they would get distracted while they were communicating with them. My ass was too simple. I wasn't going to do all of that, right? So I really wasn't interested, and I didn't really read any deeper to neuro-linguistic programming. I didn't hear about it until later when I entered into college. And I read briefly a little bit, not about neuro-linguistic programming, but tactics that law enforcement uses in order to de-escalate a situation, which came in handy later when I became did security for a homeless shelter. All right. That was a really wild area, really wild time. You know what I'm saying? For $13 an hour, you know, I was doing stakeouts and the whole nine, right? I had binoculars. I was on a roof. But quite frankly, I didn't see anything. You know what I'm saying? I didn't see any. That's not part of my job description, but they had me doing it. You know what I'm saying? There's pimps and drug dealers, the whole nine. But NLP has been around for quite some time, and it's been used everywhere, like I mentioned, from the pickup artist community, and not all of them. These were the earlier stages. I didn't really stick with that whole movement. I went to see what it was about. You know what I'm saying? Like I read some of the information and material. I really didn't read too much of it because like I said, it was mostly just flubber. It was like reading a fluff piece, right? You ever read a book? You ever read a book that you were really interested in reading and it only had about a paragraph worth of information that you valued? That's how this situation was, okay? And that's what I got out of that book was NLP, so that when I came across NLP later in college years, I understood, you know, what it was, kind of the gist of it, right? So it is a programming tactic that can be used for de-escalation of things. And I guess if, you know, in the pickup artist thing, dudes would use it, but mainly the breakdown of what I understood from it from the pickup artist community was they mainly just wore flair like females at Friday just to distract the women. And then they also were saying other things like trying to adjust the way people speak, you know, giving indications, being more wordy is what they were promoting out of that book. And all of that shit just really didn't, I don't know, it was really boring. I didn't really feel it. It didn't make any sense to me. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I know some pickup artists. If any pickup artists from that old school ass community come up on my page, gonna be mad at me. But I mean, let's be honest. The pickup artist, what do you call it? Community. I'll tell you what, a lot of those guys in the beginning stages, it was heavily on the metrosexual side of the game. I'm gonna just be honest. With you niggas. I'm not trying to, and it seemed like it was more about law of attracting or creating some form of semblance of commonality with the women that they were looking to attract in terms of their theory. And that led the dudes to look more metro-like. And I remember at the end of high school, you know, at the time that was like a big deal, and they had like some type of bulletin board post online and what have you, like a forum. Yeah, that's when skinny jeans started to come into the game also, right? The swagger got a little bit different, you know what I'm saying? Like dudes was wearing some very intricate shit. Right? I'm just being honest, okay? I'm not capping on anyone. All right? So the basis, and the reason why I plug that here, in terms of neuro-linguistic programming, I'm doing two things at once. I'm talking about the neuro-linguistic programming, and because I didn't read the whole book and I'm being sloppy, I assume that was the basis, that was also a form of neuro-linguistic programming. But see, when you play games like that, man, okay, let me tell you something. And you switch up your whole swagger, right? That is pretty much the same dynamic that we're in today, right? And we can see how that metrosexual movement cultivated into something else. And I believe for the most part that originated in the pool community, in the pickup artist community. There were several things I just kind of wasn't hip to. They were talking about take care of your nails, get a manicure. My nails look hella ragtag because I got a lot of energy. Sometimes I get aggro, and kind of to curb that, like I'll bite the calluses off of my hand or like kind of chew at my fingertips. It's just one of those things, you know what I'm saying? Keep me calm. That's my that's my own form of NLP for myself. But yeah, that I do believe that. That's where a lot of this movement took a drift. You know what I'm saying? That would be like 98, 99 area. No. Forgive me. That would be about, somewhere between 2001 and 2003. Okay? 2001 and 2003, that's when that community started. And like I said, anthologies. That's where the as far as I could tell, I have never heard or seen. They didn't even have the term metrosexual then. But all these dudes that would go in this pickup artist thing, they would change these dudes to kind of, I don't know, man. Their swagger was just different. It was some new shit at the time, right? The shit was new, right? It was some new normal type shit. Then it flipped. I think it flipped. I think the people who were trying to take advantage of that thing, I think, you know what I'm saying, the canoe flipped, and then they swagger changed a little bit, like they swagger, their internal swagger, right? That's what I believe happened. I'm just being honest with you. So now things are a little bit different, but I think that was one of the merging blends of that. And I think the essence of it started from the whole NLP and quote unquote anchoring technique, which is whenever you have something vital or impactful to say to anybody, people use it for meetings and in business, things like that, pertaining to like a handshake. When you put the hand on top of the handshake, it like enhances it. You know what I'm saying? You can shake somebody's hand regular, right? But when that motherfucker go and put that hand on top of that handshake, it's like, oh, this nigga, he just totally enhanced it. Now the handshake, it's like fucking HD, right? You got an HD handshake, right? Because you know what I'm talking about, right? When the person puts the hand over the top of your hands that are shaking, it's like, oh, you know, then that nigga one up you. So then you have to one up that nigga and anchor that nigga. That's when you step in and you grab that motherfucker's elbow and assist that nigga's elbow, shaking your hand like, yeah, put it there, right there, Ron. You know how they do it. You know what I'm saying? All of those are NLP techniques, and you can see politicians and stuff like that use it still today. Okay, it's something that just pretty much makes a lasting effect, and it makes a lasting effect, I guess, because at the point of contact with the words that you're speaking, I guess it gets kind of lodged in the mind. Maybe it anchors there, right? It anchors there. So it does work. The stuff does work. Okay. In terms of classical social conditioning, I'm not too familiar with that. I don't know. Classical conditioning, it was called, or something. I know of social conditioning, and you know what I'm saying? Like, this situation is about repetition. All right. Musa is right about that. There's a lot of repetition and frequency involved. Very correct. Right. And he's very dead on point in terms of how people learn according to association. Right. That's how all of us learn. So between frequency and repetition, one begins to garner or change their moves. Like Musa said in the beginning, he was posting up where he was going to be at, this, that, and the other. And he decided to step off of that. Right? So in that situation, though you did learn something, you also were socially conditioned. Right? Because you did that as an effect to the reaction that you were formerly getting by posting up places where you went. You did not just natively just say, well, I'm not going to post it anymore, right? So this would be a form of social conditioning, or in my terms, in terms of discernment, erosion. When somebody's personal character has changed, all right, there's some effect that changes a person, and those changes continue over a period of time. It just keeps changing. All right. It's something that stays with them, or in other words, it has anchored into their persona, into their character, into their mind. And so now you have associated and you have learned for yourself, posting up where you're going to be at is not the best idea. Right? And I think that's good. That's one of the things that I was really trying to stress, because quite frankly, when you have something you want to build and create something as far as a community, in order to do it effectively, then, you know what I'm saying? Certain things, you know what I'm saying, you don't want on camera, because it's not all about you, right? You could affect somebody else. That's the problem. You can affect somebody else. Things can start to look different. When people look at things that they don't understand or they don't know what's going on, but it's being presented to them, right? A mind that looks at that, they're going to fixate on that, because they're going to fixate at the point where they were confused at, right? To try to make it to make sense. All right. So certain things you don't want, on the video camera, because people look at us anyway for no reason, right? People look at us a certain type of way. They prejudge us and everything like that. This is far beyond any of that woke mentality bullshit. It have nothing to do with that. If you took all of us and you turned us white, we would get the same reactions. It has to do with your spirit or your soul. Okay? So that's another thing that's about it. Another thing that Musa hit on is the fact of pointing out the buses and the differences in traffic. That's one of the main key things that I noticed. You should know how the traffic kind of runs in your city. All right. And when you start seeing a whole bunch of vehicles and there's all this extra traffic and you got buses after buses after buses, yeah, you're dealing you're dealing with something. You're dealing with something there, okay? That isn't normal, all right? And the fact of the matter is, the only thing that I could tell you, the only way you could reach to do something, King Musa, is to do it spiritually, okay? The area that I live in, it is not that busy ever, okay? It's not that busy ever. But during the last, not this past week, but I would say for the past 2 to 3 months before that, it's been heavily crowded over here. And I know people are thinking like, yeah, but like the summer, you know, it had part of the summer and everything like that. No. Not where I live, right? It's not like that. Not in my particular area. It would not be that much traffic. Not even remotely. Okay. And the traffic was crazy. Anywhere that I went, I would go out Monday through Friday during business hours, and the businesses' parking lots, they would be full. And I'm like, who's at work? Who's actually working right now? Right? You go to the gym at like 10:30 and the parking lot just packed. Right? You can't even find a spot to park. Right? And I'm thinking, and I'm looking at all these cars. Now my car, you know what I'm saying? It's all duct taped together and shit. Right? It looked like one of them fucking rubber band balls and shit. You know what I'm saying? The shit is, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's had some loving. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm looking at all these cars, these big trucks, these SUVs, these brand new vehicles that people drive in this area, right? And I'm like, wouldn't these people be in the office right now? They're not, right? These people are not in the office. They're in no rush in their workout. I don't see anybody rushing or anything like that. It's not like they have time parameters and they need to be at another place at a certain time and they're eager to get finished. None of that, right? They're kicking it, right? They're kicking it. I'm struggling with traffic during business hours at certain points, certain places in my city and the areas around it, right? Which is not normal, just on a normal basis for this general area. You know what I'm saying? This is the burbs, man. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty quiet around here, but it was very hectic and frustrating, right? The increase in traffic in your general area, this is a huge headache because it will make it very difficult to get to work on time. People can't drive. You know how people drive and shit nowadays and everything like that. People are so distracted and flighty. They don't pay attention to what they're doing. And I usually had to drive to work like Speed Racer, you know, cutting in and out and through these little tight spaces between cars just to get to work on time, because some people will speed up and get right in front of you, and then they'll go slow as molasses, right? It went, man. A lot of times you get on the freeway here, before when it was crazy, the fast lane was going slower than the second lane. You could even get in the slow lane and you still be going faster than the fast lane, right? Nonsensical things that don't make any sense. All of these things happen during the phenomena of targeting. So getting back to what Musa was saying in terms of the traffic, in terms of the buses, in terms of the frequency, right? I don't know how it works. It could be part of the matrix, so to speak, the matrix grid. Definitely, when you start looking at these cars, start looking at their license plate and seeing where they're from. Now, for me in my city, in my part of town, people will have all these foreign license plates from like other states and shit, right? They would have license plates from all these other different places. I'm like, did all these people move to my general area? And you know, despite the real estate boom, they probably did not, right? There was quite a few people that moved into my neighborhood recently. I think about like 2 or 3 families, right? But other than that, man, like it hasn't I don't know, not so much. I wouldn't be seeing all these cars with all these foreign license plates, right? So I gotta tell you something. For anybody who's targeted, who drives, that's experienced the same phenomena with the frequency and traffic and everything like that. You pull out of your house and you get on the main street. God forbid if you have Google Play on, because if you have Google Play on, it's like people start coming out of portals, man. I'm saying things without saying them, right? These motherfuckers literally come from nowhere. A lot of people come through doorways, man. That's gonna sound crazy. Now, this is a theory, but I have had recorded and showed you guys one portal already on my channel. All right. I think I took that video down. I don't keep these videos. I don't keep my videos up. You know what I'm saying? Going back to, you know, referencing what Helm said, I'm a level 5, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. People need to understand, like, I will reiterate. I've been around, man. I've been around for a while. Okay? I've been around for a while, man. Longer than other people that I've seen in this. Right? You know, so just because there's videos up there and you only see a few, it's because I took a lot down, and I have a lot of other accounts with videos, okay, around YouTube. And I did it like that so that YouTube couldn't find them. Just in case, it'll be a crumb, it'll be something out there left behind. You understand what I'm saying? But I have several other channels like that. And you know what, you guys? I upload them. I don't have the email anymore. I don't know where it's at. It's gone, right? It's gone. It's there. It's like finding an Easter egg. All right. There was one. There was one video I posted, and for the life of me, I can't remember what alias it was under. But it was like, you know, it's a montage. I got ones on vaccines and other places because I had to get around my shadow ban. You know what I mean? So I had to open up other YouTube accounts, upload videos, and then dismiss the account, right? If they didn't recognize the videos that I upload, I would dismiss the account, and I wouldn't upload those on my main channel. So I have hundreds of videos, man. Hundreds. I just take them down, dude, and I don't have the hardware space on my computer. But a lot of people come through doorways, man. And doors, when you read scripture, when it talks about doors, they're talking about portals, right? Isn't that dope? When we talk about doors, we talk about a physical door like we're going into a bathroom, right? That's not the same thing. What is common to us, they keep common amongst them. A portal is a doorway for angels and spiritual beings. They're just like, yo, it's a door, right? We're like, wow, fucking portal, dude, right? We ain't never seen that shit before. We want to go through it, but we're scared. You know what I'm saying? We don't know where we gonna end up on the other side type shit. Alice in Wonderland. But it's the truth, man. There are portals all throughout this world, throughout this earth, throughout the United States. You know what I'm saying? We don't know where there are. I know where one is. Well, two. And some portals, you guys, some doorways are only open for certain periods of time, and then those doorways close, right? Someone could literally come through a doorway and that shit'll be gone. You won't be able to do the same thing 10 minutes later. All right? So it's something to think about. That pertains to the frequency and the traffic in your city. Like you said, when you got to catch the bus, now things are going to be a little bit more hectic getting to a certain type of place. And that's just the truth, man. When it comes to, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, your dating life or whatever, man. Hang on one second. Yo, man, I mean, when it comes to your dating, man, like psychologically, I'm getting to that point where I'm just like, kind of like, my mind is tough as nails. But let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something about targeting. That is the worst part of the target. It's the worst part of targeting, man. You know what I'm saying? I gotta learn how to play video games. I gotta buy myself one of those video game consoles, like a PS5 or something like that, right? Because, dude, it fucking sucks. That is the worst part about targeting is when you get socially blacklisted. When you get socially blacklisted, that's exactly what happens. The situation you described, that's exactly what happens. And then other scenarios, like when you go certain places, people, you catch people peeping all the time. You can't, nah, man, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work because you're working with the hive mind dynamic. And a lot of times in social situations, when you work with the hive mind dynamic is this. Let's say that there is a group, right? You're interested in communicating and speaking with one person out of that group, right? Now, all of them came together and they're friends, but then when you add a certain element, then those friends become competition. You understand what I'm saying? Now, whether loved or hated, attention is attention. Just remember that. It's all energy, whether good or bad. Both forms can be utilized, but you respect one form more so than the other, right? And why would somebody hate you without there being a reason to hate you? You said dudes be talking shit and shit, right? When you be walking about your day or whatever, right? That's because there's conversations going on that you're not involved in. Trust me, those girls do talk. And when they start talking, those dudes will start side-eyeing you and acting different. That's called envy. All right? That's called jealousy, right? You don't know what's going on. It took me a long time to figure. You don't know what the fuck is going on because you're like, what the fuck did I do? Did I fart or something? What the fuck is going on? Right? Because that is the hive mind dynamic. If one starts talking to you, right, then it's going to become a thing where it's just like she's going to have to separate from the rest of the hive. You understand what I'm saying? You're reaching in a swimming pool and you're pulling out one drop of water, right? But that drop of water is psionically connected to a web of networks, right? And all of those networks are kind of like a social secret society. They have agreements and discussions that go on without you being involved. And it's kind of like, if you get the attention, then there is a conversation that is happening somewhere, right? And then when the dudes start to react or start to act a little bit different, then you definitely know that those conversations have been happening. Somebody done said some shit. Somebody done felt a certain type of way. You gotta be careful because women will also use you to make their boyfriend jealous, whether they're interested or not. Put you in a whole fucked up situation, right? I'm just being honest with you, dog. A lot of rappers be dying lately over these females, right? So you have to understand the hive mind mentality. And part of that hive mind mentality, which I'm theorizing because I don't know how it works, but I would assume that somehow the psychology of somebody that's hived in can be swapped out with somebody else, right? So one moment you thinking you gonna get wild for her, now you got a little date, you're gonna take this little honey to dinner, right? Then all of a sudden her psychology switches out, right? Think about this very carefully. A lot of you guys say you start working at a place, everybody's cool, and then the next day everybody sucks, everybody's acting funny stuff. That's the hive mind mentality, right? And all the people that's connected in that hive mind in the community is like a social network. You're not really a part of that hive mind, and they know you're not part of that hive mind. So therefore, it's like social engineering. You go to one side of town and you have a conversation, the people on the other side of town is going to know as well, right? You can even trace this study back to the Rhesus monkey experiment, but this is the hive mind. Is more instantaneous than the 100 monkeys experiment from the Rhesus monkey experiment. Okay, Reese's, R-E-E-S-E, something like that, just like the candy, right? It's the truth. Okay? And so when that starts happening, right? Or even they don't say something and they have certain thoughts or whatever, I don't know, that shit could disperse throughout the hive or something. You know what I'm saying? Everybody could be up on the same memo. Right? That's just the truth. So the fact of the matter is, whether you date this girl or that girl, You're dating the same girl. You're dating the same psychology. That's why I keep telling niggas, don't get stuck on the image. Don't get stuck on the looks, man. You have to be very invested and care very much. You know what I'm saying? What you're getting involved in. Right? Hectic times change things. And we got to be honest. Even though it's battle of the sexes, quite frankly, the last podcast scenario, I put up a hypothetical of what I would be doing if I had $1 billion right now. And I told you guys I'd be doing the same thing. But psychologically, if somebody offered me $1 billion, bro, I'm a simple man. I'm like, well, honestly, I just would like to get that social blacklist taken off of me out of the hive mind. I'll go ahead and grab me a girlfriend out of there. You could close that back up and I'll be all right. You could keep your $1 billion. Right? Now, a lot of people were like, oh, that's blasphemy. How dare you turn down billions of dollars? Hey, man, money bring a lot of fucking trouble. You know what I'm saying? Even if you got $1 billion, you would just be getting it to get a girlfriend. Let's be honest. I'm just more efficient. Right? Save the trouble. I'll take a little bit of the trouble and save the rest of it. Right? I don't want no part of that. Shit is real and targeted. Let's be honest. It's secretly why we're all complaining. Right? Nobody wants to admit it, but it's secretly why we're all complaining. Because now you're in this. I say, hey man, shit was popping. Shit was popping all the way up through high school. You know what I'm saying? Shit start getting a little bit weird around college. You know what I'm saying? Now, in high school, I still had a little bit of nuances of targeting. Usually when I went to external places such as the mall. But a lot of times, and I caught this from Young Steele's video, actually. Shout out to Young Steele if he's out there. He was saying he didn't start experiencing it till after high school. He wasn't always targeted. And the fact of the matter is your character as an individual hadn't been cultivated yet. For me in high school, I was very much, my clique, those who hung out with me, we were outcasts, right? Everybody knew us. We were breakdancing, or we were up to some bullshit. Sometimes we would miss class. We know how that goes, right? That's what it is. You know what I'm saying? When it came time to do the float and show some school spirit, we was breakdancing on there. You know what I'm saying? We were involved from an outcast set. We were like the cool outcast clique. All right? And, you had the jocks, you had the artists and the hippie people, you had the you know what I'm saying, the geek squad, right? And everybody was partitioned off into their own little hunter-gatherer clique, right? And then me and my friends, we were just outcasts. We would fuck with everybody. We would talk. We were like Divergent, if you ever seen that movie, right? You couldn't fit us in a particular category. And chances are, if you're targeted, you are like a Divergent. You wouldn't fit inside a single, they can't fit you neatly into a single category. You could fit within any category. You could get along with any person. You don't really have the qualms and hangups as much as other people. So it's hard to deal with you, because in order to make chaos, you have to have control opposition situation. That means there has to be enmity developed between parties. And enmity is developed between parties by disagreements. Strong disagreements cause that to happen. That's why there's Masonic chapters, right? And they're generally all working to a cause, right? And I guess we could call this whole umbrella, which is commonly beat over our head, the Hegelian, I can't even really say it, dialectic, right? Because they all know the ultimate outcome is going to eventually lead to a total sum, right? But the disassociation that they throw over the masses, Democrats and Republican and the difference of opinion, we're only voting on the route in which we will take to get to that total sum, right? So the puppeteer at the top, he's not really tripping. He don't really care who's in the office, because it's going to ultimately lead to one circumstance, right? So these are the many things, and I forgot. I done went on a tangent, and I apologize, you guys. But these are the many things in terms of controlling society that are in effect, and you have to always keep watchful of the hive, man. You have a confrontation with one individual, you could have a confrontation with other individuals that you don't even know that are connected to that other individual, right? You know, now when you're talking to somebody, when you think of 6 degrees of separation and all of these social networks and shit like that, that's only strengthening the hive mind. So I took myself, I could see it coming. Holy Spirit alerted me. Hey man, get off of social media. That was many years ago. Okay? Many years ago. Don't have Facebook, don't fuck with none of that shit. Twitter, none of that shit. If you see an account and it's me, it's fake. The only place that you'll find me, possibly, and even then, you won't find me on YouTube because of my heavy shadow ban, right? Most people, unless you find me through somebody else's channel, right? And before I said that you could find me if I happen to post a comment on somebody's video. But you guys, I do leave comments. But you know what? I stopped because YouTube will come right back around and delete my comment. I mean, there are several people, I don't have the same channels, and some of the people have left YouTube, but Low-Key T can vouch for that. I left him comments and then they disappear, man. Like within 3 minutes, they're gone. I go back to the page, I'm scratching my head, I'm like, yo, did this nigga delete my comment? Right? But you know what I'm saying? I'm so like, whatever, I'm just like, fuck it, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's good. I don't really get emotional over that shit. Because if I say something, I just be trying to help. Usually. But yeah, man. You don't fit into any category. So Young Steel, Musa, Targeted Journey. You see what I'm saying? You got your own vibe. You got your own swagger. I'm trying to think of who else is out there. You know what I'm saying? Probably, I'm pretty sure KJ Osborne. You know what I'm saying? You have your own swagger. You understand what I'm saying? And you walk to the beat of your own drum. You're Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer to the rest of the community because you're not a part of the hive. When I worked at Walmart, one of the things that I found to be very weird is when it's lunchtime, which we had to take an hour break, which was annoying because I would wolf down my food in 10 minutes and be like, fuck, I got 15 minutes to just whatever. So I would always take a nap, right? Now I would sit all the way in the furthest corner away from everybody else, behind a wall, okay? I didn't want to see shit. I didn't want people looking at me neither. Because I kind of eat wild sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I forget where I'm at. So I sit in the furthest corner. And do you know, man, like within the week, then people want to sit in that same seat. The minute you do something, they want to do that exact same thing. When I go to the gym and I use some weights, the exact weight that I'm using, even though there's more sets down on the other end, they want to use the one that I'm using. So the minute I sit that down, they snatch it up, right? The minute I set it down, man, I still got more sets. I set them down in between sets back on the rack in case somebody wants to use them. But when other people use the weights, they take them for a long fucking time for like, you know, however many sets they do, which is totally fine, right? Which is totally fine. But I'm just saying, then I have to walk down and I constantly have to move during my workout. I get on some cables. The minute I get on there, I could do about 1 or 2 sets. Then somebody is just scratching like a fiend. They really got to use it. It's like whatever I use, I'll leave some type of magical pixie dust on that shit. And then niggas want to use that shit, right? And I complained about that shit. That shit was driving me crazy. I couldn't get through an hour-long workout, right? I couldn't. I go to the part of the gym and I try to find the furthest corner. That's me always, all the time. I'm getting the furthest away from fucking everyone, right? Here they come, right? Here they come, man. It's subconscious. Now, since I spazzed out about that, I'm very grateful for my gym because I don't know what went down, but hey man, it's pretty much non-existent. I mean, it still happened, It still do. But dude, listen, man. It don't have nothing to do. This targeting shit, it don't have nothing to do with the CIA or FBI. Like, for instance, like I went to a machine today, okay? I went to a cable today that I was gonna use for triceps. Hey man, it was my own homie. You feel me? My own homie. He came in from outside. He came in after me. You know what I'm saying? Like way after, like 15 minutes later, right? So I had just did one set on that, right? He didn't know what machine I was at. I even talked to him. I was talking to him saying, what's up, right? He went straight to that. He went straight to where I was working out. And he wanted to use that cable. It's my homie. Fuck it. Go ahead. I don't have that many. I don't have any people, that many people that I'm cool with. Right? More like an acquaintance. But he's a cool dude. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so I keep rotating. I go to something else to do shrugs. You know what I'm saying? I kept it light. I went with the 60s, right? Guess what? As soon as I put those weights down, guess what? Here comes somebody else. And guess what they want to do? They want to do the same exercise that I'm doing. They were totally doing a different set of exercise. They'd be working on legs, then they'll just switch it up. Right? And it was so bad that other people could notice. It was agitating other people, but it was like it's like fiends, man. They couldn't help it. It was driving me crazy because, you guys, I'm very feral. I don't have claustrophobia. I'm not scared of like tight spaces, but I do not like a bunch of niggas around me very close, right? You better be female if you standing very close to me, because I get real, you know what I'm saying? I get kind of feral, because unless I know you, like there's a certain proximity thing that we used to respect in the 90s, right? Some people will walk like, go nose to nose and have a conversation. It's like, yo, nigga, what's up? You know what I'm saying? What's up with you? Right? Hey, man. After 2010, shit got hella different, bro. And everybody thinks I'm always harping on like the whole LGBT. I'm not even talking about that. I'm not talking about that at all, man. I'm just talking about regular, proximity, human interaction. And that leads me to wonder, man. You know what I'm saying? I went to another machine. So after he took those weights, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go do shrugs on the barbell. So I went to the barbell, the Smith machine, the one that's on the rack that you could rack it or whatever. So I threw like 245 on each side. I start doing my shrugs there, right? I start over with the sets. I got one set in. Then guess what? Some dude comes in from outside wearing sunglasses. Now he's a perp. He usually comes in earlier. When I come in early, this nigga come in early. When I come in late, this nigga come in late. And guess what? Where did he go? Straight to that fucking machine, man. And the thing with me, you guys, is I am outspoken, but once I get my focus on and I'm in my mode and I'm working out, man, like I'm zooming, bro. I'm zooming. And for me to stop, generally, now sometimes I have done it, but when you superset, you do one set and then you go somewhere else and do one set. I don't take no breaks, man. These other people, they do barely one set after waiting at a machine for like 15, 20 minutes. Then they wait another like 5 minutes before they do the next one. I don't do all that shit, right? It's back and forth. It's immediate. I don't take no breaks. I ain't got no time for that shit. I'm gonna get the most done in an hour that I could get done. The gym, you get an hour to an hour and a half. That's it. I'm not staying there all day, man. You know what I'm saying? But other people, they you know what I'm saying? They relax, they comfortable. It's a social thing. They got a little bar up there. All that shit is extra, right? What do they call it when you buy like an apartment? Amenities or some shit, right? All that extra shit, I don't even know, man. I seen the swimming pool through the glass window, right? That's about as far as it'll get. But yeah, he went straight to that machine. Now, did he know that I was at that machine? Possibly. If people could see your aura field or something like that, maybe I'm leaving back some type of aura stuff. I don't know. I don't know what it is. All right. But part of it, I think I know it's a hive mind, and the other part of it, I don't know, man. It's that light. You just have a light. Now the scripture says there's no light inside of a man. That's what Paul wrote, I think, in Corinthians. But your light is hid with Christ. The light represents your life. Okay, your life represents your light, and that's hid with Christ. Well, at least for me, I believe in Christ. So whatever type of ambience that I got going on is spiritual, and it attracts people. That's the same thing that happened with Moses. That's the same thing that happened with Christ. And that's the same thing that's happening with target individuals. Nobody knows what it is. It's nothing that we can figure out. It's just a thing. Okay? We don't know what it is. Right? For those of you who are trying to build your YouTube channel and things like that, that should actually be a blessing for you. But me, I don't know, man. I guess, you know what I'm saying? I'm an old school nigga. I don't fucking want niggas bothering me, bro. I really don't, man. I'm just fucking weird, bro. Like, I'm cool with having a small clique of friends, and that's about it, bro. You know what I'm saying? 2 or 3, fuck all that extra shit, right? Enough to fill a car. We don't want to go any further than that, right? Because then trust get all hazy and things like that. Rather have a small, tight-knit unit, right? And these are those things. Musa is spiritual, bro. I know you want to elevate it down to CIA or FBI, but this is above that type of shit. So this is the hazy area that is subtle, where it's just like you have to really pay attention to your reactions. We can't afford to get angry by people just standing in a certain place, and the repetition and the frequency of them crowding our areas. You can't just spaz out. You know how people, it's just like a built-up pressure. Like somebody's annoyed and they're getting pestered and pestered. Then all of a sudden somebody snaps and just flips the fuck out on the tiniest infraction. And people are like, whoa, what the fuck happened? Why did that guy do that? He's so evil. Right? They don't know what the fuck that motherfucker been through. Right? You know what I'm saying? Life is difficult for a nigga. Free Harambe. You know what I'm saying? I've been going through this shit for a minute, bro. And I know y'all know what I'm fucking talking about. So it's a thing. I don't know. I don't really get it. You know, I get agitated. I do sometimes. But like I said, for the time being, it's been sweet lately. Like today was pretty cool, man. It was like 5% today. And you guys, when I talk about targeting, when you hear all this information, don't get it twisted, niggas. I'm only getting out the house for 1 hour a day like an inmate. Just to exercise on my little hamster wheel. And then I come back and I'm in Supermax for 11 hours. I just literally wait, you know. I apply at jobs to due diligence for shits and giggles for the most part. I know these motherfuckers ain't gonna hire me. I'm not really giggling about it. But it's just like, fuck it, I might as well try. I might win the lottery once, who knows, right? But the rest of the time, you guys, I'll do that. I'll put my head towards it for about like maybe, I don't know, an hour or 2, right? I could give it that. I'm not gonna fill out 1 million job applications anymore a day and spend like a full day doing that day in and day out. You know what I'm saying? So I'll put 2 hours in there and I'll fill out a few applications or whatever, knowing it's gonna be bullshit. And then I have to figure out what to do with the rest of the day. That's why I say I'm gonna watch all these fucking YouTube videos. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna watch all of them, man. I'm gonna add these new channels and all types of shit, bro. Because when you really have to just sit around for that amount of time, keep in mind, like, I don't really got bread. I ain't gonna be driving out everywhere, right? One day I took a note from absent-minded Abe, and I noticed he went on walks all the time. I thought that shit was weird as fuck. I'm not capping, by the way. I'm not capping at all. And I don't think that walking is weird. I don't know, man. I haven't really seen men of a certain age do it. Like me, like I am pushing 40, but quite frankly, like, I'm not the type of nigga you see going on long walks and shit. I don't know. Abe is aging himself significantly by going on these long walks. It's like, you're supposed to do that when you're 60, bro. You feel me? But, you know, do some stretches, some calisthenics, put on your joggers, and you walk, you know, just keep your joints and shit limber. You take your fish oil. You know how old people get down? They go on walks. For me, hey man, I gotta hit them weights, bro. Not to get muscles, bro. I got a lot of stress. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I gotta get rid of that energy, bro. As soon as I wake up in the morning, I gotta go to the gym because I got so much energy. I gotta get rid of the excess energy. I live here. I'm in a townhome. I'm connected to 2 other homes. Literally, most of the time in here, I tiptoe upstairs, right? Because I don't want to disturb my neighbors. And my hearing is so crazy since this targeting thing, you guys. I can hear that there's a creek, like very far away. It's not very far. I would say it's maybe about a quarter of a mile away. I can hear it. You know what I'm saying? I can hear the crickets all the way down there. I can hear the crickets up by my house. So like, my hearing is crazy, bro. My hearing is crazy. Now I asked God for some crazy ass shit, and I was tripping. You know what I'm saying? I asked God. You know what I'm saying? I told him I wanted a car call's ear. For any of you niggas that don't know what a car call is, it's in the large cat family. Why don't you go ahead and look up a car call? They're the ones that got them ears, that got them like them whiskers on the top of the ear, that got them real big ears. Hey, yo, I think he really gave me that shit, man. Yo, my neighbors, they open the garage door. When they open the garage door, I run out and I open my garage door, like if I'm at home. Cause I be thinking my garage door is over. I'm like, oh shit, who the fuck is here, right? I'm like a caged up dog in here. I'm like, who the fuck is here? What's going on? Right? It'll be my neighbor's garage door on one of the sides. I'll be like, shit. And I just feel like a senile old man. Go back to my couch, sit my ass down. I ain't got no friends. Come on, what the fuck is going on? Right? Totally comfortable with it. Right? So these are those things. It's something that is societal. One key thing that we could all start looking into is trying to understand sociology better, because this is something new. This is a new phenomenon. And even though there's nothing new under the sun, this is something that is happening in our midst that is such a mystery that we can't figure out. The closest we would be able to find it is either through something spiritual or through sociology if you want to go the scientific route. Okay? That is the only way that you're going to get close to figuring out this gang stalking and targeting thing. The whole CIA, FBI thing, you kick all that off the board, right? I'm being honest with you guys. It's more omnious than that, right? It really is. You could leave here and go to Australia, right? You're going to get the same reactions over there, all right? It's universal. It's omnious, all right? For one thing I can honestly say about myself, my energy is different. And right now I got to start toning it down because we're getting 5 minutes to 10 p.m. And you guys, my voice is carried. My voice is getting stronger, right? So most of the time when I'm around at my house, I whisper. I whisper. I don't want to speak too loud. And I even whisper loud. I kind of whisper a little bit loud. All right. It's that energy, man. I got all this stagnant energy, man. It's fucking crazy. So you want to look into sociology if you want to figure out, because we all recognize that this situation is as a phenomena, right? And the minute you start using the word phenomena, you're automatically hampering on something that is supernatural the minute you say phenomena. I mean, even if you're talking about a force of nature, you're not talking about just rain coming down from the sky. You're talking about fucking cyclone or tornadoes coming, right? You could call that a phenomena. A phenomena hits different. That word hits different. It's kind of strange. You know what I'm saying? And we're experiencing something outside of the norm phenomena. There's no study. There is nobody who really truly understands this. There is no exact perp. You guys are looking for physical evidence that is spiritual, right? Nobody's gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm a perp. And like when they do play along, dude, I could just hear how they sound. Like their voice is like, like, dude, they're not with it. They're not together, right? They got milk duds for brains. I'm not trying to be a dick, right? A lot. There is a form of controlling society that my homeboy Peter, well, before he joined the fucking Illuminati and shit, fucking told me about that they used in I don't know. I guess it was Stasi Russia. When Stalin was in, they used something pertaining to information. Okay? So when they would show the news, they would bombard people with fake news and media, and so much of it on the news. On the news, the advertisements. Think of all these advertisements and everything that you're getting bombarded with now. All the notifications that are unnecessary that are on your phone. When you're getting bombarded with all that stuff, getting loaded into your mind 24/7, it becomes overstimulated. So therefore it becomes desensitized to stimuli. When you walk into an area and you carry that energy, right? It's immediately noticed. Any of us could drop in silent as a ninja in the back of a fucking concert. It's interesting, right? Even though it is loud as fucking there and you're moving silently, for some reason, it's just like, boom, spotlight. They fucking notice. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'm just trying to slide through the back along the wall here. Doesn't work. Does not work out. Okay? It's the energy. It's something unseen. It's some spiritual thing. You guys, if we can figure what this out, what this thing out is, you won't need to worry about your fucking YouTube channel. I can guarantee you that, right? At that point, you could just show up to a business and a whole bunch of people start going there and be like, yo, pay me, right? That's how bad it was for me before. And me, listen, you guys, there's different, everybody got different temperaments. You know what I'm saying? And that's another temperament. I do not have the temper for a bunch of motherfuckers crowding my space, bro. Like, it could happen in an instant, bro. That's why I can't own a gun or nothing like that, man. Because, like, dude, it's just so much, bro. It's so much when they crowd you. It's like, you almost have to run out of there before you just snap off on somebody. Because it's weird, man. And it's like, you're looking at them like, yo, man. I'll be looking at other people for help. Like, yo, do you see how close this nigga come and stand next to me? You see this nigga standing next to me right here? Everybody act like they don't see nothing, man. In fact, more of them keep coming. I'm like, yo, let me get the fuck out of here before I kick somebody in the knee. Right? It's weird. Okay? It's weird. But if you were to emote and do something like that, now you done hurt somebody's feelings. Right? And it was subconscious. They were not aware of what they were doing. You have to remember the verse in scripture where Christ said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That doesn't mean that they're doing something wrong. It just means that they have a lack of awareness, right? And you have to consider them no different than a baby. You don't get mad if a baby throws up on you, do you? Right? It happens, right? So that is the same phenomenon. I'm not convinced by anybody who said that they're a perp. In fact, as far as evidence to go, the only evidence you would need is if anybody could find at least 2 perps that have the same story in terms of how they got turned on to the program. That would be all you need, because the Bible says things are proven when you have 2 or more witnesses, right? If you have 2 witnesses, it counts, right? So the fact of the matter is, we haven't found a single perp, have we? That means it's not the perps, it's you. That doesn't mean that you're a perp. You're definitely a target. And you're a target because you don't fit in with the rest of society. For whatever that is. It's something that's unseen. It's something spiritual, you guys. Okay? So the closest, if you want to stay on the rationale side and in the spiritual side makes you a bit squeamish, start looking into sociology. Start looking into sociology and understanding the terms and what have you. All right? Now, in terms of these things, I am want to introduce a term, and I think I told you about a term last time, the last podcast, and it was called anticipatory intelligence, and that pertains to foresight. All right, that pertains to foresight. All right, but it's not exactly the same thing as prophecy. What I do is I analyze and cross-reference the data of something that I'm observing, and the history of that thing, and the trajectory of its future, to understand the trajectory of the future of that thing. They do it all the time. They use AI to do it, to study trends for fashion. They use it for weather. And this is very important that we start developing our anticipatory intelligence, because you're not going against the supercomputer directly. You don't have to go against the entire supercomputer. You don't have to be intimidated by that. You are, however, going against the algorithm. All right? You have to be able to outpredict the algorithm of the computer. And it's constantly paying attention to all your web activity and, your transactions when you use like a card digitally or whatever. We got to throw off our behaviors. We have to throw off our patterns. So really, all of these things that are happening to us, it's making it hard for the supercomputer that's already collecting data that's not solidified yet to distinguish a pattern in our character. All right? That's what's going on. Probably is connected to the smart dust and what have you. And that's the brain initiatives that's going inside of people's nostrils. Hold on. I'm doing this. I'm thinking as I go, and I'm thinking fast. Okay, so check this out. They dropped the fucking chemtrails, right? So the chemtrails had aluminum in it, right? Which is a great conductor. Your body being 80% water, and I'm speculating. I guarantee you a smart dust in there, because Obama apologized for the brain initiative because they want to study living brains instead of brains out of a cadaver. And he was apologizing to the American public because they were involved in an experiment that they didn't know that they were involved in. Since then, we had more gelins, which nobody could explain what it was coming from. And I compared this before to the technovirus with cable. Okay. But thereafter, people were catching, we had the COVID pandemic. The COVID symptoms, if you look them up online, it had 98 different symptoms. That's fucking more symptoms than diabetes, and diabetes affects the entire endocrine system. That's your entire body. All right? So we're talking about when they first were given, it was something that attacks your entire body. When they were first giving out the, what do you call it? The fucking antidote, the vaccine for that. When they first gave them out, you know what I'm saying? People were talking about false positives of something. Autoimmune situation, right? Isn't that the same as diabetes? Is diabetes a form of autoimmune situations? It is. Diabetes is also the same as the same thing. All right? It's just that our situations now involve technology, okay? With the smart dust. With the smart dust. You understand what I'm saying? So the smart dust is probably piggybacking. When we talk about piggybacking, when we have those thoughts, when you be thinking, and then as soon as you say you're not going to do something, you guys ever get that sensation in targeting where the minute you say you're not going to do something, then you'll have a thought that tells you to go and do it in your own voice, right? Or the minute that you say that you are going to do something, then it tells you not to do it in your own voice. It's like a piggyback. It's not exactly your voice, but it's that ELF thing, right? That's the smart dust. That's what I think it is. And it piggybacks off of your thoughts, right? This can be further broken down, and I have to analyze this off the recorder here, because You guys, this is how I think. This is how I meditate. You're seeing the nuts and bolts of how I meditate. You know, I'm extrapolating shit, I'm reverse engineering shit, I'm putting it together. But during COVID, versus many of us catching, like I don't think any of us caught COVID. But like during the time where people were having COVID, when people were going through targeted, people were talking about being burned by some type of radiation weapon. I know I got hit with something that was like, felt like electricity, and I had cold and hot sensations. I was like cold on the outside and like burning up on the inside. And it was and it felt like electricity was going up, going through my body and shit. All right. The shit was crazy, son. It was scary as fuck. And I couldn't shake that shit. Right? Now that could have been a weapon. Okay? Some type of directed weapon. But I just know when I look at like these injuries that people attribute to being targeted, you know, I gotta wonder if there's something in the air. They call Satan the principality of the air. And the Bible also says, beware of Satan's devices. All right. So how are they studying living brains of the American people? There would have to be smart dust. Remember that movie Gamer. Okay. So what we have to do is either be unpredictable or continue to be able to outmaneuver the supercomputer and be able to have strong foresight, basically. All right. If you have a strong amount of foresight, you'll beat the supercomputer. It's not going to be able to keep up with you. All right. No matter what it analyzes, right, or puts into the algorithm. Because ultimately, it always has to check and replug that information back into the algorithm. But the mind is interesting because you can arrive to the total sum of something without plugging in any data, right? Where it has to go through each of the 9 steps, you can just fast forward to step 9. You could go from step 1 straight to step 9. You'll pass the computer, okay? But we don't have these skills or abilities yet. It's something that we have to work on. And it's a sociology term. When you look it up, it's called anticipatory intelligence. It's the one I told you about last time. Now, building, like I said, we talk about the existential prison, aka the I think he called it the hyperbar prison realm, right? And we know about anticipatory intelligence now. These are sociology terms. Now, there's another term called anticipatory socialization. This is what we're doing now. This is what Musa was talking about, frequency and repetition. Another term in terms of sociology is called anticipatory socialization. And anticipatory socialization is a process by which non-group members adopt the values and standards of groups that they aspire to join, so as to ease their entry into the group and help them interact appropriately once they are accepted. So basically, it's some type of this is just a long ass word for some tribal ass shit, right? You take it to old school, you have a foreigner go to some type of, caveman tribe or whatever. He has to find a way to make himself familiar with that tribe so he don't get killed. Or you could think of that story where that man that made himself familiar to those grizzly bears. I mean, they did eventually end up killing and eating him, I think. But, I mean, at the same time, they only did it because they were hungry. And I'm not saying that to be insensitive. It was a bad idea that he went out there to begin with. But I'm just saying he used anticipatory socialization. Okay? That's what we're doing. We're getting our terminologies and things for this phenomena down. If you guys have been with me this long, then you should start thinking on this wise. If the world, I ain't gonna front with you guys, no matter how much I'm told it's not the time yet, I swear it looks like the end of the motherfucker. It really do. I know something's probably coming. Something is probably coming. We all know it, man. Everybody know it. Other people might be zoned out because they're scared shitless. I'm not. Some people might really, sense it, be scared shitless, and other people are just, man, zazad from the fucking all the gaslighting and the rhetoric in the news and the media. Right? They don't know which way to look. There's so many things going on at one time right now. Right? And you want to know what's funny? How they poke fun? They came out with that movie with Michelle Yeoh called Everything at Once. Right? This is that same tactic that they used. All right, back in the day. I think like I said, it's hazy, but it was I guess a Stasi technique, all right, where you brainwash the public by blasting them with a bunch of irrelevant information and misinformation. That's what you do. Okay? So your resolve, how you carry your energy, how you conduct yourself, it has an ambiance, and that ambiance has a certain gravity when you go into environments. And when you're not a part of that hive mind, which is probably connected through, let's say, smart dust or spirits, something that we can't see is spiritual, right? We're not necessarily a part of it. We're not in the same mind. We're not under it was unable to control us as it's controlled the other parts of society, okay? And we're sprinkled throughout. There's some people that's with it. There's some people that's not. But I'm looking at this other thing that there's a lot of people get into confrontation and conflict. And the fact of the matter is, you don't want to conduct yourself like the rest of the herd. All right? Everybody is fighting. So if you're a target and you have a beef, drop it. Make it in. Separate. All right? Because we won't be able to pick you out from the rest of the people who lost their shit. Right? Anticipatory socialization. All right. The terminologies we have: existential prison. He calls it HPB. We'll just call it HPB for short. The hyper prison bar realm. That brother's on United Souls Network. All right. We have anticipatory intelligence. Meaning when you anticipate, you're what? You are waiting for something to happen. So anticipatory intelligence is you're awaiting, you're expecting something to happen before it happens. All right. To cross-reference, I've told you guys before about playing 5D chess. It's when you make your moves before you anticipate and speculate that something is exactly going to happen. And you do the result of that thing first, so that when it happens, it's already done. I don't know how to really explain that to you. That's something that was the 5D chess thing was taught to me. The Holy Spirit had to teach that. Okay. Because I can't do it. It's I don't even know how it works, to be honest. It's the Holy Spirit. Okay. And then we have anticipatory socialization. You break down the word. Anticipate means wait. Anticipatory socialization. You're waiting in order to build rapport, in order to be socialized inside of a particular group. Okay? Rapport just means building trust. Okay? That's what that word means. All right? You're building trust. And I guess that's what I'm doing here by introducing these terms. Whether you guys decide to build off of that or use that or not. You know what I'm saying? When you talk about existential prison, I know what you're talking about. If you watch my last podcast and I say the gnats were driving me crazy, then you will know exactly what I'm talking about. You know I'm not talking about gnats. You know I'm talking about people who wander. okay, that get in the way, that violates proximal space. That's just, you know what I'm saying, kind of weird when you get crowded and what have you. That's what I'm talking about, okay? These are sociology terms, okay? So that's all I'm gonna put for this segment. I actually I want to big up on this podcast right here. I want to big up Young Still, okay? Young Still, he got his channel is Food Vibes Herbs. No, man, I'm sorry. Hold up, bro. Food Vibes Nature Herbs. All right? Just replay it. Food Vibes Nature Herbs. But the name of this brother is Young Still. He an artist. All right? And I just want to tell Young Still, hey, man, I listened to that. You dropped a verse, I believe it was yesterday. And it was called True Story. I just listened to it not too long ago before I hit record here. Hey, man, that track is off the hook, bro. It's off the hook. It's on a different level. I don't know if you recently recorded that or not, but one thing that I know is that in your prior raps, which are, dude, you're a phenomenal rapper, man. You really are. Whether anybody give you props or not, you're not going to get props in this world because they want you to sign that contract. They want you to give in, right? So that you could become a slave and they can maximize off of your gift that God gave you. All right? But the difference between your raps before and this True Story rap, whatever you uploaded, the other rap had more of a battle rap acumen, which you know what I'm saying? I'm old school, b-boy, what have you, breakdancing. So I really respect the battle rap aspect of it. But that True Stories track, that caused some chills, bro. That caused some chills. Because what you rapping about inside of that verse, man, it's real shit. It's real shit. It's real shit that you've been through. And it's real shit that you're going through right now. Just for instance, a subliminal that others would miss that listen to your content is that part where you say, sometimes I gotta put the mic to the side. When you say that, I totally understood and respected because I know you're talking about, you know, your mind, you know, being filled with, you know, and I'm saying all this targeting shit, all these distractions, what happened to your friend, you know what I'm saying? You're talking about you're hitting on a lot of topics in there, but it was, I guess you could say, it was more from the heart for me. Not that the other pieces weren't from your heart. They're dope also. They're off the hook also. But this is something that you had to pull from outside of you. And you could kind of hear, you know how my hearing is weird. You could hear the pain that you went through come out in your voice. That's why so many people like Tupac back in the day, they could hear his pain. You know what I'm saying? When he talked, he you know, that is Holy Spirit shit. That the Holy Spirit speaketh expressively. That's what I was saying on the last one. All right? That piece right there is nice. Don't ever put that fucking mic down. You know what I'm saying? Because that is your gift. And you don't need validation from niggas who don't know how to recognize art. Keep that in mind. These A&Rs don't know shit. Right? Listen to what people listen to today. They don't know shit. They're not going to be able to recognize you, brother. It's more about exposure. That's all you need. All right? Is more exposure. But this targeted thing, just as it has stifled me, it has stifled Musa, it has stifled you, it breaks up the plans. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna leave this here on this last little tidbit, all right? This last little note for you guys, man. Absent-minded Abe. Absent-minded Abe. I'm gonna put up a disclaimer, a trigger warning for you. All right. I don't know, man. You exclaim that you are a real target. And for years you were coming on here, when you was talking about targeted, I had no idea what you were talking about. Now all of a sudden the problem is I know what you're talking about when you talk about targeting. Right? You see, the other people, I got frustrated because they kept going, their mind was going in circles. And you guys think, this is the thing. I came like that because I'm passionate and I care. But I didn't disrespect any of you brothers. I was just coming from the hip. Now I had to come like that because I had to shock you, like shake you out of your mind going into that same loop. Only to recognize the same thing. You want to know why? Because you were socially conditioned to operate off of your triggers. All right? You are only recognizing the triggers. I want you brothers to look up Darren Brown. Darren Brown is a British magician, and he could convince people to do anything. And what he does is he anchors them. He uses NLP, Musa. He anchors them, and he tells them what to do, and they'll do it. He convinced these guys to rob a bank based on seeing certain vehicles that pass by their face. And back early in my targeting with the death threats and things like that, people would say, oh yeah, he robbed a bank. And I'm like, what the fuck are they talking about? You know what I'm saying? I didn't rob a bank. I'm not gonna rob a bank. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things, you guys. When you see targets and you hear the stories of people who snap off and do something wild, you know what I'm saying? That's when they start getting controlled by their triggers. So you want to keep your mind moving. You don't want to get fixated on the same thing, okay? When you see those triggers, okay, like Musa had brought up in this video, you want to take that, if you can't get rid of the trigger, and associate it with something pleasant that you enjoy thinking about. Go ahead, remember your ex-girlfriend every time you see that color. Maybe she wore that color before, right? It'll totally dislodge the anxiety or whatever discomfort sensations that happen when you get triggered by that phenomenon. All right? As for Abe, I mean, I can't really say I haven't watched the full video. I stopped the video the minute you said that you were having you were having crazy dreams as usual. I know I went through a crazy dream phase, like I don't know. For a long time, I went through a crazy dream phase, man. I went through a crazy dream phase, dude. I was always fighting my dreams, man. I always had to fight a bunch of niggas the minute I went to sleep. It was like I had nightmares all the time. And I wouldn't even wake up from the nightmare. I wouldn't be in shock about it because I had them so often that I just started fighting back in my dreams. I started learning how to fight back, and I started winning every time. Okay? What you're experiencing is you're probably experiencing, if you experience sleep paralysis at all, it's the shadow people. And that is something that is supernatural. And I know you don't like to go into supernatural shit. And there is a CIA document on that as well. Okay? On the shadow people. And they can induce nightmares as well. Okay? I'm not saying that that's particularly what it is. But during my phase of time, I had many fights with shadow people. I would come out of my dream, out of my nightmare, only to feel that I could not move any of my body. And something was trying to force my eyelids shut, to stay shut. And it takes all my willpower, but I overcome them. Okay? But people have died that way several times. Okay? It happens a lot, believe it or not. A lot of people die in their sleep. My father died in his sleep. Okay? This is something that I want to alert you of. But, you know, also I just throw up a trigger warning, man. Perpetual nightmares is a side effect for anybody that's looking to target me, if you're targeting me, you come by this podcast or whatever, if you're an agent, you doing witchcraft on me, your life starts falling apart, you start having nightmares all the time, you fucking with my energy. My energy has gotten strong. I done gotten strong in the spirit to where the Holy Spirit around me, it will ragdoll. You will lose. You cannot win. All right? You will lose everything. You will be utterly destroyed if you do not stop. So I say this because the Bible says to love your enemies. All right? I don't want to see nothing bad happen to anybody. I don't profit from it. I don't get anything from it. I'm not tickled to joy out of it. I don't necessarily want to see anything bad happen to my gang stalkers. I just want them to stop. That's it. I'm content the minute the shit stops. All right? I'll make it. All right? I'm happy with the reduced amount of stress. I could deal with quite a bit of stress now. That's something that I know after what I've been through. So there's adaptations that come along with this target and shit. You can't automatically write it off as being all bad. It could go in a bad way if you choose to stop overcoming. Okay? So I just put out a trigger warning saying that pertaining to the dreams because I watched a little bit of the video and Abe said that. Now that's not sufficient evidence enough for me to speculate further, but it also is another thing. For those who target me, there is a sevenfold karmatic backlash. All right. So if you do not stop, it's gonna hit you 7 times more, and not just the part that you did, the entire duration of my targeting. You will become a real target. Okay. You will become a real target, right? That's just how it happens. And God, the Spirit of God is unbiased. It wouldn't matter if it was Joseph Biden. If he's doing some type of witchcraft, that man gonna get fucked up, bro. 1000%. God does not care who the fuck you are, right? Anybody can get it. He takes care of his sheep. All right. He really does, man. I've gone through phases of doubt, but I had the luxury of going through them and overcoming them while having the loftiness and the luxury to meditate and speculate on whether this situation is a situation where God is looking out for me or not. How lofty is that? I could be out on the streets worrying about something else. You know what I'm saying? Where my next meal is going to come from, the whole nine. Nope, none of that. Okay? None of that. So God is very good. But I just put that out as a trigger warning. I'll watch the rest of Abe's video in a second. But yeah, for the dreams, it's nothing that I know in terms of how to counteract that. Okay? Because again, it's spiritual. You're gonna have to grow your spiritual chops. And quite frankly, anybody that's going through targeting, I will help them, even if they were somebody that formerly targeted me. If they're going through it and they're really going through it, hey man, I'll give you the same advice that I had. You know what I'm saying? The same insights that I had. I don't have any problem or qualms with that, because that individual is picking up a different perspective and seeing shit is real, right? So I forgive quickly, man. I really do. Sometimes there's consequences, okay? But I definitely will forgive you, because I don't tie up energy space holding grudges. That absorbs too much energy, right? I need my mind to be free and flowing. I need my energy to be free and flowing. Feng shui. All right. Any type of psychological discomfort that you experience in this targeted experience, you have to seek a way to inverse that. Like I said, using the colors instead to remind you, assigning a color to a specific memory that you enjoy will keep you above the cloud using the trigger. That's how you use the triggers against. All right. this phenomena that's going on. All right, that's going to be very important. You got to keep your shit together in this, right? Because the first little slip that you make, all right, it's a lot of people that's looking. All right, it's a lot of people that's looking. There's a lot of people gonna say, see right there, and how are they looking at you? They're looking at you to confirm a bias that is a lie or an accusation, right? So these are these things. You got to keep your psychology together. But I don't know how to tell you, gentlemen, anything else other than you can study the physical phenomena, but the physical phenomena, though it do happen, you will not be able to understand why unless you meditate and understand the spiritual or unseen things. All right? But Young Steel, yeah, man, don't drop the mic, bro. Don't put the mic to the side. You know what I'm saying? I had a homie named Joel back in the day. He's gone, man. I don't know how to put it. He used to be deep into music. He was highly talented. I made a music video for him that's on this channel. All right, it's called Tradecraft. All right, and he made that joint. He made that song. All right, very talented producer. Yeah, I remember one time we had a competition. He pulled it was called Mixman Studio, and we competed like, you know how niggas was. We knuckleheads back in the day. We compete in everything, fashion, music, everything, man. And yeah, man, he took that shit out of the box, and yo, the nigga was gifted than a motherfucker, bro. He could put together a beat than a motherfucker, dude. Like, he didn't even know how the shit worked. He just figured that shit out. He's like a natural. He was like damn near a savant, bro. He really was. And but you know, after his brain got scrambled, you know what I'm saying? He's a little bit different now. He looks the same, but I don't know him. I don't know him at all. He traded in all his music and became a day trader. You know, them niggas that trade stocks and shit like that, I guess. You know, I'm a regular ass nigga. I don't really fuck with none of that shit. Right? Got into cryptocurrency and all that shit. The nigga's strange. He's different. Alright? I don't understand. I ain't saying that niggas that use cryptocurrency is strange. I'm just saying his passion was art in music. And to change it to something so business oriented, talking about like, oh yeah, well, I guess I had to grow up. And it's just like, you can grow up, that don't mean you fucking drop music and all of a sudden you jump immediately into trading stocks, nigga. That's totally not normal. Okay, that's totally not normal, my nigga. Like, you wouldn't drop music, you would just get into stocks if that's what you wanted to do. He already had his turntables, everything, man. He was doing DJs. He was getting invites to do parties, go to clubs, and you know, do the DJ thing, mix it up and all that shit. He's a mixologist, man. And yeah, he gave all that up to become a day trader. You want to know what happened first before he became that day trader? He got a girlfriend. All right, I ain't gonna talk about it here because I talked about it before already. I'm not sure if that same podcast is up. I am eventually going to make a Patreon and backlog. I'm gonna go ahead and backlog the podcast that I had taken down with the other informations, and I'm gonna put it on the Patreon. And that way, anybody, you know what I'm saying, that's in the targeted individual community or whatever that wants to backlog or get something off of there, they could do that. And you know what I'm saying? For me, quite frankly, it'd be quite benevolent because I have zero source of income because I'm blacklisted. Like, legitimately, literally blacklisted. There's even a TV show called Blacklist. I ain't watched it. I probably should to figure out what it is. But our blacklisting is probably different. But I could tell you this. It's like they all know when I apply for a job. They all know. And in this game, when you get close to something, when I get one job offer, guess what happens? Then they all start trying to offer me a fucking job. But when nobody's offering me a job, nobody offers me a job at all, man. It's the same thing when it comes to your dating life. Okay? It becomes a thing. You know, you're breaking up the peace if all of a sudden you pick because you stand out. Now, outsider hearing this might be like, oh, this guy think you do shit, this, that, and the other. It's what it is. It's what it is, man. Whatever it is that we can't figure out, you are separate. You are set apart. The Bible says that God will he will set some people apart. All right? They will be separated from the rest of society. It kind of feels like what we're going through. And it's also written that God works in mysterious ways. We've been in this shit for a very long time. None of us has an inkling of an idea of how it works out. You know, wouldn't it be some shit, Musa, if you come to find out that the Bible says, be careful. It says, be careful because you may be entertaining angels. You don't know if that nigga standing outside was an angel or not. It might have been an angel. Might have been an angel that knew exactly what you was there for to begin with. Was waiting for you when you arrived there. You don't fucking know, man. You know what I'm saying? You really don't know, man. It could be a part of your target or it could not. Right? It could totally be something different. Right? When one job offers me a job and the other start hitting me up like crazy, because that's how it generally happens. And what happens is like, I want this job, but then a job I want a little bit more will contact me. So I don't contact the first job. By the time I contact the other job, by the time I contact the job that contacted me first, the next day, it kind of has that feeling of it being too late. I could sense it. You know what I'm saying? And then I end up missing out on both the jobs. The second job, they'll end up going with somebody else, and then I'll miss the first job. That's how shit works. It's a hell of a game, man. It's a hell of a game. If you really think about it, a supercomputer could not be that smart to pull this off. It's way too intricate, dude. Government agencies, CIA, to know these small details about you. Come on, man. That's way too intricate for CIA, FBI type shit. This is this is what we would call phenomena, nigga. This is a targeting phenomena. And it's supernatural. That means it's some supernatural shit, nigga. Alright. Peace and blessings with y'all niggas, man. I'm proud of your drops. Y'all drops lately have gotten. It's exponentially better, man. If you guys think that I was full of shit, you know, that's totally fine. But if it really penders on your mind, take a look at what you've been dropping recently and look at what you've been dropping before. And you'll see a big difference. All right? If you go to 2 days before today and you look at what you've been dropping, it'll be totally different than the rest of your content. All right? So I say that with love, man. Peace and blessings to everybody out there in the targeted community. Shit. I know I seen, who do I see? Targeted Journey. She looked like she was in a good mood. She was getting ready to go somewhere. You know that girl get out and go party. Don't nothing break her stroll. She go do her thing, whatever the fuck she be doing. She go up to that bar, get her some drinks and shit. I tell her if she happen to listen to this, be careful drinking that shit. Be careful drinking that shit out in public. All right? All kind of shit, man. You have no idea, man. Them bartenders, certain places you go, if you're not familiar with that place, they'll slip some shit in your shit. I mean, and it's quite common too. It is quite common. You know, by the time you get your drink, you can protect it, but the shit is already in it. And I ain't saying that to fearmonger you or to be scared. I just want you to be aware. A lot of you guys, you know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to belittle. I don't know everybody's age. You know what I'm saying? But you guys appear young to me. All right? And, you know, a great deal of that reason is I've grown a lot in isolation. I have zero friends. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever you guys talk about, in terms of the worst of society or whatever, like, yo, that nigga's a loser. He's a loser. He's an incel. Y'all don't be talking about me, but it's just like, y'all be talking about me. Like, well, I mean, that's basically the description of how I would be seen according to how, you know what I'm saying, you guys look at things. I don't go anywhere because I don't have any reason to go anywhere. You know? And like I said, when I tried walking, like, hey man, when I tried walking, let me tell you something, man. I got that first day I went walking, I went on 3 walks that day, nigga. I was so bored out of my mind. And I had blisters. I got blisters on my feet, man. I said, fuck all that walking, man. I ain't walking nowhere else. I'm gonna get in the goddamn car, son. Save that shit for later. You know what I'm saying? Shit. So anyways, I say that shit with love, you guys. And remember the first drop that I did, you know, revisit that. So there's some exercises in there for you to cross-reference. The podcast that I dropped a long time ago is about honing your senses, ways to meditate. You know what I'm saying? Close your eyes. And it's not like shit that you read. I do my shit different. I think the Holy Spirit blesses me with insights on how to do things. You know, you deprive yourself of your sense insight and pay attention to what you hear and smell simultaneously, and describe it back to yourself out loud and anchor it in your mind that you remember it perfectly. All right? Then you take another time. You could just be walking around. You don't have to close. You could be walking around in your day-to-day. On your way to work, pay attention to what you see and what you smell at the same time and describe it. All right? This is getting you used to different localized senses and forms of perception on your body. You want to get to the point where you could use all your senses simultaneously. You could remember what you were seeing, what you heard, what you smelled, what you felt. All right, the way the air tasted. See, a lot of times when you describe shit, we just talk about what we done, what we heard or what we saw. But it's different if you're like, okay, let me try and make up a makeshift example real quick. I was walking down a busy Manhattan street. People were nearly lined up shoulder to shoulder. And as far as I could see a sea of hats. Okay? A sea of hats. It was so many people out on the street. And I could hear the screeching of the bus's brakes and the smell of the brake dust in my nostrils. Right? Along with the hot dog stand down on the corner. The mustard that they used to put on a hot dog. It was piercing my nose. Right? The air felt gritty on my fingertips as I pushed through the crowd. See, that's like the part of a book right there, right? That's how you should be able, your brain, when it's sharp, should be able to record and remember all of those things. Now imagine your brain being able to do that shit. But that's not how we really get down. We just be like, well, I went there and I think I seen this person. We don't remember one of our senses, right? That's the common consensus, right? So we'll call this phrase common sensing, right? For us that's targeted, let's get our common senses on, right? It will strengthen your mind as you practice it, and it will strengthen your sensing also, all right? So that you could get better descriptions. All right, man, and I'm just recording things as I think of them. It is written in scripture to beware, for Satan himself can transform himself into a being of light. Now in Ezekiel 38, I talked about how Satan was decked or decorate with every precious stone. Okay, it's talking about his scales, the scales of the red dragon. The red dragon, okay, he fell on the account, on the pride of his reason. And then you have the dragon of the deep, which is a Leviathan, which is, he represents the spirit of pride. Beware, for Satan himself can transform himself into an angel of light. Okay, so here's the thing, man. Like, the adversary, or your so-called adversaries, whatever, so forth, or what have you, have the ability to shapeshift. Okay? They can shapeshift. We're talking about light cloaking technology. light cloaking technology and image wrapping technology. What they are able to do is to bend rays of light around themselves, all right, to appear as somebody else. Okay, they could take on any appearance and what have you. And some of them, I guess, natively also have the ability to shapeshift biologically as well. Okay, so shapeshifting is a thing, and many people are fixated and stuck on that. Let me tell you something even more dangerous. Okay? It's a story about kids in society, how they grow up innocent, chasing after their hopes and dreams, has the sweetest heart in the world, only for that sweet heart to be ripped out of their chest and thrown across the astroturf. And when they find that they can't reach their dream, somebody comes with the perfect opportunity for their hopes and dreams, and they go all in on it. Contracts. You understand what I'm saying? And if that kid does not know the wiser or does not know anything else, he will go ahead and take that contract. And all the people that rejected that kid, when he comes into his power, he's a little bit different. He's a little bit more arrogant. He remembers how he was treated when he was nobody, even though he had the same gifts. Isn't that interesting? Have you guys ever seen somebody who is homeless that is incredibly gifted? You know, they can sing really well, or they have a gift that they could do that's good enough to be famous. Have you ever seen famous people that seem like they have no gifts at all? Not even their looks? Have you ever seen it? Right. This is what I'm talking about in terms of these things. You know, you want to know what's more dangerous than someone who could change their image? Someone who cannot change their image, but can change their entire personality on the drop of a dime. Someone that could totally fool you into believing that they're someone that they are not. Some people do this type of thing for a profession. I don't want to be hypocritical or say anything as a double entendre, but what is an actor? Is that not hypocrisy? And in such thing, I do not condemn actors. I do love the movies. I'm just saying, if you look up that word, what hypocrisy is, understand that's what an actor's job is, and that's what several government agencies have to do. FBI, CIA, police, sometimes they have to go undercover. I can't talk shit. I can't do it. I can't do it, man. I can't fake with niggas. Too much work, man. That is too much work. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of memory. Okay? So the fact of the matter is this. Beware of all people. Beware of me also. Okay? Because quite frankly, you have to keep your mind about you. You have to keep your integrity about you. And the fact of the matter is, when I did security at the shelter, when people talk about first impressions, I can tell you about first impressions. First impressions are a crock of shit. timing is more pertinent than first impressions. All right? When I worked at the shelter and Johnny would come in, and that's not a real name, but like, I don't give out real names. And Johnny would come in, okay? Johnny, he would have his, you know what I'm saying, head in the clouds. He'd be having the best day of his life when he come in to check into the shelter. And I was glad to see him too, because he's a dude that, you know what I'm saying, was, had a good mood about him, had a good demeanor, had a good head on his shoulders. But sometimes Johnny would come in a little bit wet. Out of the rain, PCP, you know what I'm talking about. His eyes were a little bit different. He looked a little bit more wiry. All right? And even though I was cool with Johnny, I had to keep in my mind, if I have to, I'll fucking neutralize him. Right? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's my job. And the security of that building, I was the only security guard there that at night. It had 5 floors on one side, 3 floors in the other building. All right? And when people came in, all right, they had to be checked in. I had to check to make sure that they had no paraphernalia on them. They couldn't be too drunk. Okay? They couldn't be drunk. They could not be high. Okay? If they were, if something happened, if I was able to, if I bypassed and let them in and something happened, as in, if I didn't watch them the entire time and something happened, guess who's liable? Not only that company, but I would have been liable as well. I could have been sued for that. Okay, that would have been negligence of my job. I was there for security. So here's the deal. What happens when you tell Johnny he can't come into the building because he's intoxicated? Is Johnny the same Johnny that comes in that I know? Or did he transform? Did he become an adversary? Not necessarily because he's intoxicated, he's an adversary. But is his behavior going to be the same as the first impression that I got of him when he comes in a little bit wet out of the rain? When he comes in wet out of the rain, PCP, his behavior is a lot different. I'm dealing with the spirit of that PCP now and not the spirit of Johnny. And that spirit of PCP wants what it wants. And I can allow that spirit to have what it wants at that point in time because there's a conflict of interest. Right? Keep that in your mind, whether friends or family. That's something that I have learned. You know what I'm saying? You get reasonable doubt for sure, 1000%. But you got to understand, okay? You brothers and sisters got to understand, not every time you meet somebody, they are going to be the same way that they are. If people are playing you, they're subject to change. If people are high or intoxicated, okay? I ain't talking about weed or whatever, but we could also do it. When you add other situations into the mix, beware, they're subject to change. All right? That person is closer to you and have more capability of inflicting some type of damage than someone who shapeshifts, who doesn't really have any interest in you. Okay? And that's something that I want you guys to be careful of. I want to point that verse out. All right? And the last thing that I want to point out, connecting to the other things I was saying earlier, is it's better to be effective than it is to be courageous. All right? It's better to be effective than it is to be courageous. A coward can obtain courage by being willing and being effective. If someone is willing to do something and they're effective in it, they will win courage. Okay? So that's another thing for you to think about, to be effective. Each time you went down in your life and you had to take care of your business, right? Each time you went down in your life and you had to take care of business, there were times growing up where you might have been beside yourself, a little afraid to do something. But you realized after you did it, you lost all fear of doing that thing. What you won was courage. What you realized that it wasn't so bad. The fear that was anticipated wasn't as bad as what it was. The bark was worse than the bite. All right. So I say that with love, you guys. Peace and blessings to you all. I'm out. So on this part of the podcast, I want to talk about individuality, which was promoted before culture got hyper sensitized to stimuli. All right, and the hypersensitization of stimuli, I think, occurred on the account of technology, along with the degradation of work ethic. Former generations tend to have a higher moral aesthetic towards a work ethic. All right. I think technology did a very huge amount of damage in terms of that. And along with social media, like I said, when you have people who are strong in their individuality, in a woke, fragile culture, all right, that's going to bring upon censorship, because everybody has these sensitivities. Then you run into political correctness, and you can't say the things that you want to say out of someone being offended. So that degrades freedom of speech. You see how that works out? This all came from the point of liberation. So it's a genius trap that we are set within. All right. I can't repeat this for you because it's on flight right now. It's off the cuff. And I can't really recall it, not even for my own self. Just as soon as right now, it's gone. It's not even in my mind. I can't even recall what I just told you right now. These are what the Bible, I believe, would call heavenly things. Heavenly things you can't keep. All right. So you have to integrate it into your understanding. All right. But that's the game. All right. People need to be liberated. Then they came into their individuality. The social media, they became hypersensitive. I can't say it. Hypersensitive. Okay. And out of that hypersensitivity, it brought about awareness. People became woke. And in their wokeness, there became buzzwords out of their sensitiveness. Okay, things that you could not say because it would cause them to get triggered. All right. So that's going to garner into censorship. And that censorship is going to garner into political correctness. And that political correctness is going to degrade freedom of speech. All right. And then we're at George Orwell, 1984. All right. And that's about as close as I could describe it to you guys in the way that I see it. All right. That seems to be a pattern. This would be an example, okay, of anticipatory intelligence in the existential prison, or the HPB realm. Okay. Right. The hyper prison bar realm. Right. It was analysis. All right. Analysis of the trajectory of the culture of people over a span of time. All right. So what I'm forecasting is a trend. Anticipatory intelligence is like forecasting trends. All right. Forecasting trends. was just one other thing, man. There was just one other thing. Oh yeah, it was something I was thinking in the car. I had to write it down. Hold on, let me read this thing real quick. Popped in my head here. The opposite of weakness is not necessarily strength, but courage and willingness. Okay? You don't have to necessarily be strong. Fuck all that. All right? People garner too much based upon physical attributes that don't really amount to much at all. All right? What's important, what's most important, is that you're willing to do something and willing to have the courage. All right? And for you alphabet agency niggas, no, I'm not talking about any type of criminal activity, you niggas. I'm talking about someone being able to stand up for what they believe in, right? Respect everyone, but stand their ground on what they believe in. Because it looks like society is about to be garnered in that way. It looks like everything is about to collapse and it's going to turn into some type of fascist government. It looks like that. It's not solid enough for me to put my weight on it, but let's be honest. It looks like that. All right? So, I say these things with love. This is just a small segment. You know what I'm saying? Those things popped into my mind. One was a note that I had from earlier that I happened to write down. The first thing came into my mind after I finished the last recording. So I went ahead and added it on here so that I didn't forget. I can at least have it tabbed as a note. All right? But I'm spreading it into, you know what I'm saying, your consciousness so you guys can keep that on your mind. And you guys, the more we work and build off of this thing, the more terminology and what have you in understanding what this phenomena is, because it's an unspoken phenomena and it's a phenomena that other people are not aware of, right? Quite frankly, if things don't go in the way that we think that they go, quite frankly, you could be frontiering on some new type of scientific shit that they might be studying at fucking Harvard. You know what I'm saying? You are the professional. You are the front line. You have to do the research. You have to study. You're coming from scratch, right? To understand the phenomena that's going on around you, right? That's way more significant than having a podcast or anything like that. You got to look at the bigger picture. The podcast is secondary to what you do out in the field, right? For now, you're in the field, you're observing, and your observations are a form of training. We bring it back here, and as we understand these things and we gain an anticipatory intelligence and socialization, guess what? You guys do other things. I know Young Still, he raps, all right? So imagine on your conscious wave, you rapping on something that wise, that is relative, very pertinent, and some frontier level shit, right? Some pioneer level shit, right? You go, hey man, that shit gonna have you thinking on a whole nother level, dog. You know what I'm saying? All of that information can be beneficial in any place that you go, even including the workplace. All right. So I say this shit with love, peace, and blessings to all of you. I am out. Yo, what up, YouTube? What up? Back on this shit again. I haven't even finished watching, you know what I'm saying, the video that I originally was watching yet. All right. Still recording in the day. Let me tell you something else. Hang on a second, you guys. And momentarily, you guys, when I get set back up, I just want to start off by saying this. I'm going to have to use a different YouTube account. So for you guys that are just, you know, pretty much stuck on this account or whatever, you keep this account. But I'm going to have to open up a backup account because YouTube gave me a strike for my DARPA video at first for medical misinformation. And then when I talked about it in a video, they changed it to inappropriate content. So in other words, they don't want that information that I put out there about, you know, DARPA robotics or anything like that. They completely blocked the video worldwide. So it's just the nature of the beast, man. Google, corporations, institutions. You go to an institution for a school, okay? Get your institutional, you get institutionalized, and then you go into more advanced institutionalized systems such as colleges. All right, to get herded into being institutionalized between social media and corporations and society, the existential echo chamber. I got to tell you guys, man, America has really changed a lot, okay? And my pet peeve that I'm pet peeving on right now is the fact of this. You guys, I've been applying for jobs, part-time, full-time, the whole nine. Now check this out, all right? I got work history. I got 2 degrees. Not like that shit fucking matters, right? You can't beat nepotism, okay? You can't beat it. And the system, the AI system, if you surpass targeting and you get blacklisted and you become targeted in that way, I'm going to tell you the first thing you need to avoid is those third-party systems, man. What do I mean by third-party systems? Those third-party systems are like Indeed, Monster Jobs, ZipRecruiter. And I'm going to be honest, in the past, ZipRecruiter has been very professional and very nice in terms of using that application to get a job. It made things very streamlined and very easy. If you could find a legitimate post anymore, okay, that was you know what I'm saying, a couple, 2 to 3 years ago. Now, if you could find a legitimate job, okay, on there, ZipRecruiter is a great avenue if you guys get in a position where you're looking for work. However, it is not the same site that it was 2 to 3 years ago. Okay, that means I've been looking, okay, blacklisted or not, the type of jobs that I'm relegated to in society, you know, with my work history and having 2 college degrees, I'm applying for jobs you don't need college degrees for. Right? I'm not a cubicle nigga. I don't really sit behind desks, man. Like, I'm too hyper, man. I'm too active, man. I gotta move. I got DMX syndrome, right? Might start barking up in a cubicle. I can't handle that shit, right? 1000. So the type of jobs that I apply for are very common jobs. And the fact that I can't get those common jobs is quite interesting, considering my background, okay? The things I've done in my work history, okay, in some places are exceptional. All right, to say the least. I'm just being honest, right? I was also, to balance it out, during my college years and high school, dude, I was a super fuck up. I will tell you that shit right there, 1000%. I was a wild kid, man. I was out of control. All right. But now, you know what I'm saying, that I done simmered down, so to speak, right? It's just intricate that when you use a third-party site, ZipRecruiter, Indeed, Monster Jobs, most of those postings that are on those sites are fake, right? Or you apply for a daytime position, and then when you call that place, right? Or when the recruiter calls you and says, oh, that spot you applied for, we actually don't have that spot anymore, like we just missed it. But we have that overnight spot for you. And it's like, well, you don't have it for me. I'm not working overnight, right? They funnel people into these factories. They'll say that they have all these jobs with, respectful pay, only to herd the cattle in. The institution, the hyper prison ball realm. Let's build off of that, right? The cattle in the hyper prison ball realm, right? And to go for that job. Then once they get you, right, they know they got you. It's like, got him. right? He's not going to be able to go anywhere. I know this guy needs work. This guy is probably broke. We can't, you know what I'm saying? We're going to force him into the night crew because nobody wants to apply at that one, right? So they'll do the gaslight, all right? They'll do the gaslight with the jobs or the switching of hands, right? Then you have a lot of fake jobs, right? They'll say that jobs are in your area that are not in your area, right? These are the many indecencies of these third-party systems now. Like the AI is totally just gone rogue. It's done, right? So if you want to apply for a place, you know, take note of the place that got help wanted in the window, or just go into a place directly. Take a note or look around town. You got to do things physically now, man. This is manual labor status. I don't know if you brothers experience the same thing, but these temp agencies are a hoopla. They are a runaround, right? Many times they just get bodies to put into places for a high turnover rate and an unreasonable factory, right? It's funny because there's a TV show back in the day called Colony, and all the people were scared of getting abducted by the aliens and getting put in a work factory. It's the same thing here in our colony, in society, right? The nepotism, or those who are considered to be undesirable, they will place in those positions. Another thing that happens with these third-party sites is you will have headhunters from different sites, right? Let me give you an example. Let's say there's a headhunter that is, you know, posting jobs on, you know, mainly from like some unknown job recruiter site that you never heard of. I'm sure some of you guys heard of things. They got one website called like BB. I've never heard of that for a job hunting site at all. Right? So the headhunter, right? They'll post the job that they have on their website, but then they'll post some other type of job on a different site. And then when you go and you apply for that job on the site where you seen the job. So let's say you went on Monster Jobs and you seen that job and you're like, cool, I'm gonna apply for this shit. You apply for it, right? And then they hit you back and they say, oh, we see you apply for this job. Let me know if you're interested. And then hit the confirm button if you're interested, right? So then you hit you're interested, and then they'll send you a text message to go to a different website to apply for that job. And when you go to that website, it's just like it's another Indeed. It's like another Indeed, only it's like a Indeed or a hiring site that you never heard of. The thing that really kicked off my rocker is the fact of this. You go there, right? And you find yourself, you gotta sign up because it's Indeed again. So you gotta enter, you gotta do that whole hoopla again, your email, the whole nine. Then after you do that shit, you get to the screen where it requires you to put in a photograph. Now on LinkedIn, you could put up a photograph, and a lot of people do it, but let's be honest. I'm applying for common work. A photograph is not necessary, right? I'm not going in a cubicle. I'm not working in a bank, right? Manual labor. You do not need to see my face to be prejudiced against before I get the job, and just for the opportunity to apply for the job that I already applied for on the other site. Which means when you apply on the other sites, my resume and application, all those jobs I apply for, they're not going through to who it's supposed to go through to, right? They're only holding your information to have some other recruiter. How many of you guys apply for a job, then all of a sudden, right? Like on one of these third-party sites, and all of a sudden like 50 recruiters are beating down your cell phone, filling up your emails from all these different unknown sites and places, and you're like, what the living hell? What the hell is this? You start looking at stuff and you're like, I don't remember applying for this shit, right? That's exactly what happens. So this website here that I was on, it requires that you have to put your photograph in there. So I hit the little, you know what I'm saying, the little bot chat where they have like a instant messenger, and I talked to the lady and I said, hey, is there any way to sign up without putting a photo in there? She said, no, we require a photo. You could choose a blank photo, but she said, putting a photograph in there is how you catch your employer's eye. And the word eye stuck out to me because it had me start to think, you know, I've worked at places, man. I had some model-esque looking, you know what I'm saying, supervisors and managers. I'm kind of like, okay, wait a minute now. How does this happen? Right? The cool part about the game is none of the dudes that I work with, they didn't look at any of the females. So I felt like I had a control, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how to explain it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like anything, man. You could barely even say hello to you know what I'm saying, the opposite sex at places. Like, because all the gossip on one level and on the other level, it's all that other extra shit. Because like the other dudes, that's one thing that was new about this new normal. None of the dudes, and they were attracted. They weren't paying attention. It's like they didn't even notice, like at all, nothing, right? And I mean, I can respect that, but you know how it is, you know, dude talk and shit, right? You know how it is. Well, you know what I'm saying? Work is boring as fuck. You know what I'm saying? Someone peek around the corner, you like, yo, who the fuck is that? Right? And they're like, oh, she's a cashier. Does she have brown hair? She's a cashier. So, yeah. And it's like, huh? Did you just see that? But I mean, I'm old school, man. I'm old school, I guess. I'm like, you know, more on the 90s wave side of the game, right? Trapper keeper, the whole nine, right? So that's what happens, man. If you think about it, you guys, all the information that you have to send out to get a job is insane. That's like a lighthouse for hackers. If I was a hacker, I'd be sinister. I'd post up at those job sites. You want to know why? People just readily, you wouldn't have to hack anything. They give you all their fucking information. Now it's requiring a photograph, but you got a photograph now that you can put with an address and a phone number and an entire work history, a tracking history, right? You got what school they went to. You might know their GPA, right? Total stranger. You know the whole thing. You know what this person looks like, right? You just post up a fake job, right? That's intricate. Think about it. When you put out a resume, you're sending your resume into the dark 50 to 100 times, right? You don't know whose hands it's going in. You don't know who's looking at it. And it just disappears. You may or may not hear from them, and you'll most definitely forget in all the places that you applied for that place, right? But they still have records that have all of your information. This is how vulnerable we are as fucking citizens, right? It's never enough. Think about it, guys. Take a think about this shit. You get a job, right? You go, you apply for a job, you make it through this entire hoopla, right? And then you go in and you have to do these interviews, right? Which is BS, because they both know they need to hire somebody and they already seen what was on your application. The interview shouldn't really take any longer than 3 to 5 minutes, right? It really shouldn't. You know what you need, and you know this individual. You don't need to see how I present myself or nothing. I'm doing manual labor. I ain't talking to fucking no one, right? I'm doing my job and I'm going home, right? So here's the thing. Now you stick your photograph up in there to catch the employer's quote unquote eye. How do they hand select these people, man? They are hand tailoring their employment staff. Might be too black, might be too Mexican, we don't know. We don't really know the minute you put your photograph on there. But the minute she said that, the first thing I thought was, well, they sure in the fuck ain't looking for skills if they just want a photograph, right? I mean, yeah, you gotta upload your resume, but these people, like I told you, people don't read anymore. They look at picture books. The adults have a different type of mentality. Grown men, married, fully immersed in the Comic-Con status. I'm not talking about going to the actual event. I'm just talking about your regular Monday to Friday, right? It's a Stanley fanfare, for real. And that's intricate because you would never see that back in the day. You would never catch, like, if my father was still alive, bless his soul, you would never see him in a shirt with Cyclops on it, right? Or Wolverine. And listen, man, I'm not capping on anybody. Like I told you a few days ago, for literally 2 days, I wore my Wolverine shirt and some sweats. That's how I roll, man. Yeah, I don't even like to wear jeans, man. I like to wear sweats. You know what I'm saying? Jeans, they restrict your movement. You can't really run and get full stride in them too good. I'm not a huge fan of jeans. But for me, myself personally, because I'd rather have mobility, right? I would probably fit in better with a pack of Russians. We know they like track suits. Hopefully that wasn't racist. I wouldn't want anybody to get triggered. You know how the Russian mafia get down. Them motherfuckers kill your whole family and shit. 1000%, man. Them dudes don't be fucking around, bro. The Italian mob, they keep it short and sweet. The Russian mob or them fucking the Armenians, nigga, watch out. They taking everybody with them. So going back to this job thing, man. Listen, hear this out. You give all your personal information, nigga, your social security, nigga, your address, your email, nigga, your first, middle, and last name, your work history, your residency, what college you went to, what high school you went to, what your GPA was. Then you go to the interview and football through one or two of them joints, and then you go and you have to give up blood or urine so that they could check that you don't have any marijuana or any illegal substances in your system. Think about that. That's more thorough than a doctor's physical. Just getting a regular job where they're gonna start checking your teeth and your gums. Sometimes they check your credit and your tax information. Think about all that, nigga. All that just to get some pesos, nigga, for being overworked and underappreciated. This is the new normal. All these things I don't recognize, I just consider it to be the new normal. Think about this for a second. I really want y'all niggas to meditate. You gotta give bodily fluid in order to get a fucking job. You feel me? I feel like almost if that's the case, right? The interview could be done in 3 to 5 minutes over the phone. Or then you go straight to the physical and pee in a cup. There's not really any questions with all that information that they have that they need to ask you. Right? But most of the time they're just looking for a warmed over body to put in a position until they can fire that person. That's how it is nowadays. And it's more difficult to find full-time work right now, despite the news saying there's 2 jobs for every unemployed American. That's not really true. A lot of them jobs, at least what I've come across in the months, and I've been diligent, have been false leads. Okay? Have been false leads. Secondly, if you're an individual that wants health or dental insurance, these jobs now with the economy, most of them are part-time, right? Nobody wants to pay for those benefits anymore. So that looks like the first thing that we may be walking to if this thing continues down this slope that we're going to lose. So I would suggest anybody, if you need to go see the doctor or need to go see the dentist, just in case, you know what I'm saying? Go ahead and handle your business, right? Before things get bad and you might not have those things. And I'm not saying that to fearmonger or anything like that, but we all know it's it's risky times right now. It's very risky. Okay? But quite frankly, they take so much out of you just before you arrive or report to work for the first day, shit, you already tired. You feel like you've been working there for 6 months. Like, it's a full-time job looking for a job, because the internet, the algorithm, whatever it may be, or the integrity of headhunters that post up them false jobs, right? It's suspect. It's lacking, man. It's destroyed. The information, the shit is destroyed. So be cautious with the information that you get offline as well. Okay? I'm just saying that to y'all, man. I'm saying that to y'all. You know what I'm saying? Out of love, reporting live about my predicament. And you know, I don't fuck with no prophecy shit, cause you know that shit is steep, man. You get something wrong, man, you get big trouble from the Most High about that. But what I do more so is the sociology term is called anticipatory intelligence. Okay, it's called anticipatory intelligence. Like, when you anticipate something, you're waiting for something to happen. But it is like foresight, but what you are doing is you're analyzing the history and trajectory of a phenomena, event, situation, or circumstance that is occurring. Okay? And based upon that data, you kind of home ec algorithmize, I can't really say the word algorithm, right? With your brain, you cross-reference and figure out, hey, like, this looks like this is going to happen. This is the same thing that they do with trends pertaining to like fashion and all these other things like that. This is what you do. This is how you research that stuff. You know, the Bible talks about being quickened. If you really want to be quickened, you know, pertaining to your channels, get ahead of that curve, is, for one, you got to quicken your mind to be able to do it. But after you start quickening your mind, you could look at current trends that's happening right now. And if you have access to the right data, you know, how much certain things sold for, or how many units were sold of that thing, and cross-reference that with other products, you could start to figure out trends that would be highly favored that are not yet out, right? That nobody has really thought of yet, or anything like that. You see what I'm saying? And if you start talking on that wise, you'd be ahead of the curve, right? Because the only way that you could really stay with it on time, like all these people that get paid, that got, you know, YouTube channels that blow up and everything like that, generally is because they have knowledge of something, or they're in the know. Okay? But you could be beyond that if you're able to have a sharper ability of foresight or anticipatory intelligence. All right, that's a sociology word. I like that shit. That's a new word of the day. Kind of struggle to get through it, but you know what I'm saying. Anticipatory intelligence. For me, I'm a simple nigga. I'd rather just say foresight. It's closer to foresight. All right. But peace and blessings be with you all. I'm out.